Good morning, we hope you're well. It's Tuesday morning, it's the morning after the bank holiday weekend. It's the first week in May. Hope you had a nice weekend. What do you think of the proposed phased reopening of the country? I know a lot of people were looking on Friday night after the different phases came out to see where their business or their employment fits into a particular phase. So let us know what you think, please. 083 3333 975. That's our text and WhatsApp number. You can also text in the word hero regarding our SE2 hero. It's not a competition, but if you want to nominate somebody for a Hero Community Award, please text in there as well. And you can call Laura on 051 846 123 if you want and feel inclined that way. What about Waterford FC releasing all their playing staff as the economic effects of COVID-19 take a grip on the League of Ireland, and telling them by email? A lot of social media comment last night about that. So let us know your thoughts on that. And we've many other matters coming up. We're going to be talking a little while to Mary Green, a teacher in Scullwera in Carrick. A lot of you would know Mary. She's from the Rathgormack area. And we're going to be talking to fishermen. We're going to be having a report about Frank Quinlan, his amazing run yesterday. We're going to be talking about spending habits. We're going to have a chat with Anne O'Keefe, a Waterford woman in Valencia. And we've got an interesting talk about with Trevor Darmody, owner of WAMA, about how, I suppose, theatre groups and different groups are going to respond and get going on this. A text in already from Liam from Dungarvan. Good morning, Damien. Publicans who want to open 6 weeks earlier is a crazy idea. I like a pint as much as anyone else, but a person with 4 or 5 drinks in them would have as much chance of social distancing as a child would in a creche. And we all know pubs are different standards. If we take our eye off the ball here, the situation could become detrimental very quickly. People should take and stick to the guidelines given to us by Tony Holohan and his team of politicians and his team and politicians, and not try to get involved or not try to put pressure on NEFID. So let us know what you think about that. Now, the Green Party are looking at going into possible government with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. What do you think? A few minutes ago I spoke with Marco Cohasig. He's the Waterford Green Party TD. He's doing an important Zoom meeting just starting now at 10:05 with his party colleagues. They're looking at a strategy ahead of Eamon Ryan, due to meet with Leo and Mihal later this morning. So I asked Marco Cohasig first, what sort of weekend was it for the parliamentary party of the Green Party?
It's been a busy weekend for sure, Damien. So, I mean, we've been looking at the prospect of going into negotiations with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael for a programme of government since they issued their framework document, which is coming on 2 weeks ago now. And so in response to their framework document, we sent back 17 detailed questions just to kind of lay out a baseline for, the country does need a government, and it wouldn't be well served by us going in there wasting everybody's time. So we needed to establish that there were certain things that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael were prepared to live up to before we went into a negotiations process. And to give them their due, they came back to us with responses on each of those 17 questions. Not all of them were what we might have hoped for, but as I say, to give them their due, they did interact with each of the questions, and they did so, I think, in an honest way, and came back to us with those answers. And so over the weekend, myself and the other members of the parliamentary party, Grace O'Sullivan included in those discussions, we had to look at those responses, we had to look at the framework document, and we had to decide amongst ourselves whether the responses that we got merited us going into a series of negotiations for a programme for government with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. I think there's a lot of people, myself included, who are worried that maybe Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael won't be able to live with the kind of change that we're looking for. And I think that the electorate were looking for in the last election. But I definitely think I owe it to the people of Waterford, who I promised on the doorsteps. I promised them that I would talk to all parties in the wake in the aftermath of an election to see if a government could be formed. So I think I've been consistent in that viewpoint.
And just to clear something up, Deputy O'Cohasig, did you promise people that you wouldn't go into government with Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael?
No, I did not.
You didn't? Okay.
We were consistent with the line throughout that we would talk to everybody. And there was people who wanted that commitment from me. But to be fair, Damien, if we excluded both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael at this point, our only other option would will be another general election. There's not the numbers without Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael unless we have some sort of a very unstable coalition which would rely on, fair enough, you'd have Sinn Féin, which has a sizable number of seats. Social Democrats have 6, Labour have 6, ourselves have 12. But then to get to a working majority, then you'd be looking at a very, very wide range of independents. And I think at this point in time, the country deserves a government that's going to be stable. Now, I would have had no objection to including Sinn Féin in any government formation. We sat down with them at the very start of the process and we had discussions with them. I have the highest respect for David Cullinane. I think he's an extremely capable representative for Waterford. But Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have set their face against doing any programme for government with Sinn Féin. So our option at this point was either to sit down with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael or take our places in the opposition then.
OK. Without sugarcoating this, Deputy O'Cahasig, is there... Obviously, within any political party, you're going to have discussions. Some people may say a split, and that's going too far on this because everybody is voting on this, and there will be obviously 2/3 needed. But in terms of the parliamentary party, which side are you on? Are you on, let's go in, let's trust them, blah, 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 or are you on the side of, hold on a second, I don't really think we should be doing this?
I'm afraid I'm going to give you a politician's answer on this, Damien, but I'm going to give
You're learning quickly.
No, well, in fairness, the discussions within a parliamentary party are supposed to stay within a parliamentary party. And so I'm not one for talking out of school in that regard. However, I would say to you and your listenership, I think anybody who knows me knows my point of view. Anybody who knows me knows that I didn't go up there to sit on my hands and do nothing for a 5-year term. So you can infer from that, and I don't think you'll be far wrong.
OK, so you would be on the side with Eamon Ryan to say, let's give this a go, and you would be more optimistic rather than sceptical.
No, I have healthy scepticism, Damien, to be honest. But, I would have said on your programme and to various people all during the process, I'm involved in this because of the climate change agenda. I'm involved in this because of the 3 kids that I have at home.
Yes. And
the future that they face unless it's radical transformative action taken on climate and biodiversity.
Okay.
So I'm up there to do a job. I want to roll my sleeves up and get stuck in.
Okay. Let's talk just for a minute, if you don't mind, about the internal Fine Gael mechanisms now, and that there will be some within, the internal Green Party mechanisms. There will be some within the Green Party that believe this is potentially a sellout. And you do need, for this deal, if a deal is done, 2/3 majority. How difficult will that be?
That will be a question of how good the deal is, Damien. And to be honest, if the deal isn't good enough, and I mean this is why we put down those 17 questions in the first place. We wanted to establish the scale of commitment that's going to be involved in having the Green Party in any government. So they came back to us with a set of answers that we felt was enough for us to go on to the next stage. But when we get to negotiations, we can't have any backtracking. We can't have any watering down of the commitments. I mean, this 7% reduction in terms of emissions year on year, this has been presented as a Green Party target. But of course, it's not a Green Party target. It's in the Paris Agreement. It was brought out by the Iraq. It's science. It's the target that science has set us of the necessary scale of ambition. So we'll have to get a good deal. If we don't think there's a good enough deal even to bring to our membership, we have to be prepared in any negotiations. You have to be prepared to walk away if things aren't going well enough. And then if there's what we think is a good enough deal, we present that to the membership. And it's up to the membership to decide. And how strongly I campaign and advocate for a deal, that's going to depend on the strength of the deal. If it's something that I believe in, something that I can get behind. However, I would say, and this is just from my reading of my own constituency members and the people within our own constituency, and we have a strong membership in Waterford. We're amongst the strongest branches in the country in the Green Party. And the people who went out knocking on doors for me and walking on roads in all weathers, they're like myself. They weren't sending me up there to crib from the opposition benches. So if we get a good deal and a deal that delivers for people of Waterford and delivers for the next generations, the future generations, I believe that my membership will back that by the 2/3 majority. If we get a bad deal, they won't back it. And I think Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael know that. and they know that if they put a deal that's not going to get past their members, it's a high bar. 2/3 of supermajority is a high bar, and it's higher than either Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael have to get. They need a simple majority in order to go into government. It's a high bar, but Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael understand that, and they know that if we bring back a deal that's not good enough, it'll be rejected by our membership. So I suppose the onus is on them. Can they live with the ambition that we're setting out?
And what do you have to say to Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael members that are listening to this that are highly sceptical of Green Party politics and policies, and that believe that you may well ruin certain aspects of business? We don't have to go into the farming arguments again or anything. We're not going back over the election manifestos. But what would you have to say to them regarding trust? Can they trust the Green Party?
I don't think there's anybody at this point, Damien, who's disputing the science on climate change. So that we know that climate change is happening, that climate breakdown is a real thing. We know that there's going to have to be radical changes in order to cut emissions if we're to avoid the worst effects of climate change. Everybody knows that. Everybody understands that. And I would be the same as everybody else. I'd much prefer this wasn't happening. I'd much prefer this wasn't a thing. I'd much prefer that I could jump on a plane and fly wherever I wanted, that I could drive around in whatever diesel car that I wanted and do whatever miles. I'd prefer that as well. But I think people understand it and people accept it. And one of the things that we've been consistently saying is that if this change is ahead of it, we can either plan for it and try to be good at it, or we can leave the change to happen to us. Now, Ireland is actually ideally placed. We have an unbelievable offshore energy resource in our wind.
Okay.
Ireland has the capacity to be good at this, to begin to export that technology. We have the capacity to be actually net energy exporters and begin to make money from that. We have an amazing farming system here that if we react in the proper way, we can produce the highest quality stuff pretty much of any place in the world. So there's opportunities in this as well.
I understand.
And I think...
And as I said, sorry, I don't want to rehash the election debate. To go back to that question of trust and that idea that you would last the pace, the 5 years, if a deal is good enough for you and your members, and that Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil can trust you, and that you're not going to halfway through say, we don't like what we see.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Damien, I'd refer to the last period in government, which, as everybody knows, was disastrous for the Green Party. Practically wiped out the Green Party across the country, and was probably the most difficult time for any junior coalition partner to be in government. And despite the fact that incredibly difficult decisions were being made in that time, and people definitely punished the Green Party the next time they had the opportunity in the polls, the Green Party did stay the course. At the time when there was massive decisions being made about the Troika being introduced to the country and things like that, it would have been easier for a junior coalition partner to walk away at that time, I think. But the Green Party stayed the course at that time. I think the Green Party are widely seen as trustworthy. I'm in politics not for reasons of personal gain, but for the things that I believe in. And so I hope that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael would look at us as trustworthy coalition partners. I think the fact that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have waited for us to come to this decision shows you that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have the Green Party down as their preferred coalition partners.
Have you come to any sort of idea yet in terms of how many ministries you'd like?
No, that's way down the line, Damien. We're policy focused. We're a policy focused party. I don't think there's any good at this point in the discussion beginning to attach names or numbers to those types of things. I'm interested first in policy delivery. The mechanics of the actual government can be worked out in the later stages of the negotiation. And
that includes possibly Eamon Ryan being Taoiseach for a year?
No, it doesn't include Eamon Ryan being a Taoiseach in a year. That was dreamt up by a journalist who maybe had a little bit too much cheese the night before or something like that. That's not on our agenda at all. We're not really interested in the personality part of politics. We're interested in policy and stuff to get over the line. Eamon doesn't take that seriously at all. It's not something that we'd be pushing for. We're much more interested in policy.
Deputy Mark O'Cosig, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Damien.
And that was Mark talking to me just before we came on air. Some texts. I'm disgusted with the Greens. They'll regret it forever. I won't be voting for them again. For God's sake, we'll be broke if the Greens go into government. We're a small country. Could you ask where's the money going to come from for Green Party policies? The best deal for Waterford, says Gavin in Kilmeaden. I don't think so. The two main parties have not done very much for this county, and I don't believe this is really going to work. Mark's on about jumping into a diesel car, yet his leader was driving a diesel van, so how can they be against diesel? For the first time in my life, I gave the Greens a preference. If the Greens go in and prop up this government, I'll never give them another vote again, says this texter. Another person, how can you explain how political parties can go ahead and disregard the vote of the country? Didn't Sinn Féin win the last election? Isn't what they're doing illegal? Said Mary from Dungarvan. No, it's not illegal, Mary, not at all. How can creches open for healthcare workers in the second phase? We all know young children won't social distance. What about creche workers? How will they cope? They'll be in close contact. Speaking of getting out and about, Annette, good morning.
Good morning, Damien. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Annette Toms from Grange Heights. Tell me, how do you feel this morning?
Brilliant.
Why?
Well, because I was able to get out of the fresh air and stretch my legs, have a decent walk. My only walks so far in the past 5 weeks have been up and down the back garden, which can get quite monotonous after a while.
Yes.
So it was lovely to get out.
OK, so where did you go?
Well, I went down, my son and my daughter, lucky enough, they're here with us.
Mm-hmm.
We went down to the nature park. And I love the nature park, so I walked into the nature park.
OK, this would be the Eco Park, I suppose some people call it. Yeah, the nature park. Yeah,
park.
Lovely.
Yeah, exactly, the Eco Park. And walked in, and you can see from the picture I sent you, the first thing I saw was the bins overflowing, and all the dog dirt in the bins surrounding the bins, on the ground surrounding the bins, which was horrible to see, absolutely horrible.
Yeah. Now it might be a case. It might be a case that the council are going out this morning and doing it because of the bank holiday weekend. I don't know, Annette. It might be a case that they're doing it, but it looked disgusting anyway, did it?
Yeah, well, I have no problem with that, Damien. But everyone knows that the corporation are not going to empty the bins during a long weekend. And if you have a dog, surely if the bins are full, you take home your own dog's dirt and not leave it for the rest of the public to look at. I mean, this was absolutely disgusting. And I mean, dog owners are great that they do take up the dirt. There was no dirt on the path or any place. But just to see that now, it was just hard. I can't understand, to be honest with you, why they just can't put it in a bag and take it home.
Take it with them. If they see the bins are full, take it with them, yeah?
Absolutely. There's no problem with that. I can't understand it.
So I suppose for your first day out, it was great to get out and about, but then that sort of spoiled it a little bit, did it?
I didn't even spoil it. It just looked horrible, and it was beautiful to be out. And it was lovely to have the fresh air, and it was lovely to be able to stretch my legs properly. So it was absolutely lovely. But it was a shame. It was a shame, really. I'm sure it was a shame for everyone coming in there.
Were there many people out and about, Annette?
No, there weren't that many. I thought I'd see a lot of, shall we say, cocooners like myself out, but it was early. We were down there, I suppose, about 20 to 8 this morning, so there weren't that many out. There was a couple of people that I saw that I knew, but I suppose if there were 10 people there, that was about all there was at that time of the day. OK, and well done, fair play to you. You managed to survive the last 6-7 weeks, kept your sanity intact. But the only thing that kept my sanity, we were grand, we were fine here. As I said, my son and daughter were with us for various reasons, so it was great. But I have 2 grandchildren in Deise, and one was born on the 12th of March. So we got to see him on the 13th of March and haven't seen him since. So that was the only down. That was the only big down about the cocooning for us, was that. Other than that, it was fine.
Lovely. Well,
and I think the government did a great job, and I think they were right what they did.
OK. And hopefully we will continue on the slow and steady path. We're not going to go backwards. That's the important thing, Annette, isn't it? Well,
I think slow and steady is the right thing. I think if people go mad now, we could be back where we were, which would be terrible.
It would, yeah, it would. Listen, you mind yourself and your family, and lovely to talk to you, Annette. Thanks very much.
And you, Damien. Take care. God bless.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Annette. Annette Toms there from Grange Heights. Out and about for the first time in weeks, as you heard her say. What's your experience? Have you been out and about? A woman has phoned in regarding her neighbour who's an angel and deserves a mention. Her name is Fiona Fleming. She walks all the neighbours' dogs and buys them newspapers and all their shopping. She's been fabulous. That's from Maura and Jim Ryan, and all the neighbours just want to say thanks. Margaret phoned in to say, has the Bishop any idea if communions will go ahead? I don't think there's any plans for that just yet. I will never vote for the Greens again. I voted for change, not for propping up Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil, says Tom in the city. The whole world is on hold and people's wages are destroyed, but politicians are only people who won't take a pay cut, says this other texter. Gary has texted in, do the Green Party not realise that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael only want the Green Party because they need the numbers, not because they actually want them to join them in government? Annette has texted in to say, can you please say a special hello to all the Tramore Meals on Wheels team. They've done a fantastic job. They're great. And to all the Meals on Wheels teams across the county and the south east, you are doing marvellous work. Mary phoned in to 051 846 123 to say she was out in a chair in the garden yesterday. She lives in St John's Park. A fellow got out of a car and went to the shop across the road from me. He said hello to me and said, oh, you must be cocooning. His wife or girlfriend was sitting in the car. He bought me something, a little something small from the shop. He left it on my wall and said, enjoy that now. I couldn't believe it. A complete stranger. I just want to thank him. If the man is listening, such a lovely thing to do. That is a really nice thing to do. And if that man is listening, fair play to you. You made a woman really happy there. You made Mary really happy. And the fact that she texted in to say that just shows little acts of kindness can go a long way. The Gourmet House is adjusting this morning to becoming a takeaway cafe on Thursday, Hopefully we'll help some of our customers also try and keep our business alive. Best of luck to them. Some people texting in about up to 60 beech trees cut down on the Tramore Road or around that area yesterday. Have the Greens any views on that? Sorry, the interview was done before that text come in. What about practicals and leaving certs and all the practicals and all that sort of stuff and all that jazz? Well, we're going to deal with that now, and we're going to talk to a teacher, Mary Green from Sculwera in Carrick-on-Suir. Mary's a former Fine Gael councillor, as a lot of you would know, in the Rathgormack area, and she's also a leaving cert teacher. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Tell us.
My walk.
Yeah, tell us how are you managing it? Tell us about your own family situation there. Your daughter is leaving cert year, is she?
My daughter is in leaving cert year in Sculwera, Carrick-on-Suir, and I'm a teacher of two leaving cert subjects this year. I have the leaving cert economics class and I have a link modules class in a 6th year plus junior classes throughout the school. So the leaving cert is it's surrounding us. It's, taking up a lot of our time and attention. And
yes.
So, but we're coping well. We're getting a lot of exercise in. We're eating well, and we're actually getting on very well. And so, so far so good. Okay.
When this COVID outbreak happened first, did you have different views than you have now? We'll talk about what Thomas Byrne has come out and said, but have your views changed? Have they always been the same from the start? Tell me, how have you dealt with, the different aspects of this over the last 2 months?
Yeah, well, I suppose, first of all, I was conscious that, schools in, Korea and China had, closed down and I thought that's way out there. And then it was coming closer than it was initially. And then I suppose the week that the schools finished, that week we knew it was going to happen, and we spent the week kind of prepping the students, sorting out, our online platform, tweaking out different things with them, and in the belief that we would be back after Easter. That was the thing then. And then we were out, and then it was coming near to time, and then the first blow then, I suppose you could say, was the announcement that the orals were gone and that the other practical exams were gone. So, lots of students have been very much geared up for it, and it was, oh my God, a big blow. And then we kind of picked themselves up and got on with the next one. So Good Friday, I know that day we were sitting around all day waiting for the announcement, and I had no idea, and I was fearing the really, really worst. And then when it came out that the exams had been delayed to the end of July, it was, in a sense, it was a relief, because at least, there was positivity in it that, by hook or by crook, they were going ahead and it would happen. And the work and the organisation we've been doing, for the last so many years with the students, the leaving cert students, plus the work and the efforts that they've been engaged with since they finished, will count. And so then it's just been, we have a different mindset. It used to be at this stage now, it was a sprint, to the exam on the first week of June. Now, 12 weeks tomorrow, the exams will be starting. So we're phasing down, we're easing it out. We're like, I have linked modules, they were supposed to take their exam tomorrow. Now, they've already done the portfolio, which is 60%, so 40%, the final part was to be happening tomorrow. Now it's not happening until, at this stage, now it'll be August. So we have kind of, slowed down, and we're working through it nice and handy, and we're getting on great in that sense.
So do you believe the Leaving Cert should go ahead at the end of July as planned?
I believe it should only go ahead if if our health, everything to do with what they're saying about the COVID, and
yes,
that we're healthy and we're safe. And the only thing that's preventing it going ahead is the health of the students, the health of the teachers, the health of families. I don't think it should be seen or used as anything to do with a political gamesmanship, which
yes,
is what I felt was happening at the weekend. I said what everybody else, we sat down and we, at 7 o'clock, was at 7:30 on a Friday evening, the teacher came out and he went through, the different 5 stages. It's fine. Leaving Cert teacher, the mother of a Leaving Cert, my daughter was with me. We never even said, he never mentioned the Leaving Cert. We just knew the Leaving Cert is happening the 29th of July. We're preparing the best we can and we're going for that. And anything else is out there. Of course, there's a plan B, there's probably a plan C, but the experts are doing that. That's what they're doing at the moment. And it's not just the state exams or the Department of Education. There's the teachers, the student representatives, there's everybody involved in that. And let them get on with that while we're getting on with teaching and supporting our students.
Yes, and yet, like Deputy Thomas Byrne, as we know, Fianna Fáil spokesperson in education, fully was in his right if he wants to do it. It could have been another party, could have been any other person that would have said it as well. So it's not a political thing. I know you're saying that you're not coming from a political perspective in that sense. It's not a party political thing.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying just him.
Yes, I understand.
Sinn Féin have come out, Solidarity people before Profit have come out. And said it was. Now the only ones who didn't was said Labour said, in fairness, said, look, leave them get on with it. Don't have this knee-jerk situation. All I'm saying is we are concerned with the public health situation, our student well-being, the education factors, and political factors are to a certain extent because we will have the new government by then. But I'm just saying, give their children, they're 17 and 18-year-olds, not children, they're young adults, okay? Leave them get on with it. Give them some semblance of certainty and focus. The focus is what helps them, and the focus and the support that they're getting from their teachers, from their schools. And can I just say, if there's a student out there or a parent of a student who is not engaging, the first thing is please contact the school. There's all the schools have emergency text numbers. The building might be closed, the schools are up and running. Email the school. Get in touch and start engaging from today.
Okay, so
everything will help.
Are you saying? I know you're disagreeing with Thomas Byrne, whereas he's calling for the cancellation of the Leaving Cert. You've asked him to retract that statement. Are you doing so on the basis that any query or criticism of current government policy is incorrect?
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying that's the policy at the moment. They're not criticising. It was the one thing that they came out with. They didn't criticise what he was saying about health. They didn't criticise what they were saying about any other things. It was the one place, and it is so, it's very important to me. It's very important to an awful lot of other people, and it's very real to them. And there's an awful lot of families. I'm secure, I have a job. Okay, other families don't have jobs at the moment. Plus they have a child in Leaving Cert. Plus all these other negative things are happening. I'd say like Thomas Byrne is in the position where they can engage directly with the different parties that are involved. Sorry, I mean parties like the education parties, and deal with that. I assume behind the scenes all these things are happening. But at the moment, we know there's a plan A. That's the Leaving Cert on the 29th of July. They are actually doing things at the moment. They met last Friday, this team that's set up to see what the best way to manage the project work, the art, all these other things. How are they going to be finished and assessed and so on, and what is going to happen? And just say, leave them get on with it. Leave the students. I mean, the last thing they want is the Leaving Cert headlines out there and say, like, I mean, if you're trying to keep working away and say, what's the point? It's going to be gone or it won't be gone. And if it stays the way it is, you'll be saying, I should have just kept at it. I was in the mode. I was in the keep the head down and keep focusing. And like, this is not the way we used to have done it any other year. It's a totally different ball game. So, you're cutting back the time you're putting into it. You're taking your breaks. You're doing all these things. You're eating well. And and the biggest problem for a lot of students is they can't socialise. They can't meet their friends. They're missing out on that. So there's a whole myriad of problems out there, and that we as parents and teachers are trying to support our young people in. And the last thing they need is another headline. Let them get on with it. I'm not saying don't, but stop bringing it out to the media. I know I'm saying to you, I'm here, I'm just saying, please let us get on with it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm, I often on to you, because I know you a long, long time, Damien. So, I mean, it was good of you to put it on, but I wasn't expecting to go on the show. And then since I was on to, mentioned it to you, I said, look, yes, I'll go it and draw it. But the last thing, it's not political gamesmanship for me.
I understand.
I'm a teacher and I'm a mum and I'm here. Let our students get on with it. That's all I'm saying.
Can I ask you, on the teaching aspect of things, there have been some people texting the show and other shows critical of some teachers that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. What's your view about this, about criticism of teachers?
Well, the teachers will always be criticised, and we're all very different people, and people have had different approaches at how they are tackling this. Like, I have found something that I think is working for me. It mightn't necessarily work for other teachers, but it seems to suit me. And even what I do with different classes is different. Like, I'm going to be going on shortly now with an online class with my fifth years. And we're working through this thing and they're talking to me. And then the other thing that I can do is I can actually record it as well for those who haven't joined in. And another thing, it was something they can revise and go back in next year. My leaving certs, I'm giving them, in economics, technically we had the course finished before they started. So I'm doing a different approach with them. We're doing work, but not working assignments. We're checking in every couple of days. If they have questions, they're emailing me. We've done it, orally. The first years, I'm trying out a load of different things with them. And, those things are working for me. Whereas, as I came on to you, my daughter was I could hear in the bedroom, her accounting teacher was online teaching her. I could hear that. Other teachers send audio clips. Some teachers send work, and then they have to correct it. And we're all doing work and correcting it. So,
yes.
But all I would say, and I would say to my students, if you're not happy with the approach your teacher is taking,
get in touch with the school.
Teacher.
Yeah.
You get in touch with the teacher directly, and then, because teachers are all trying to do their best, but their best may not be what that student thinks is what suits them.
And can I ask if the government asks you to come in July to work for a few weeks in the run up to the Leaving Cert, would you be willing to do it?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Would you be looking for extra? Would you be looking for extra pay?
Sure, we're paid. We're paid as it is, and teachers all know that. What we're doing in our place now is that we are checking in with the students during the month of June and the first 2 weeks of July. And see what they want. There might be a class, there may not be a class. And I don't mind whether I have 5 listening to me or none or whatever. So, and I mean, none of us are going anywhere. But now not everybody needs to do that. It doesn't suit everybody. And even my daughter said, I just want to get on with study at that stage, because at the moment they're still being taught, they're still doing new work, they're still, and then they just want a bit of time to actually set all these things out. And so, of course, I don't see any issue with me. And I'd say now, there could be, if you have an underlying health issue, like people on front line, obviously they would be excused. But
yes,
I think the students really, all they want is to meet up with each other safely and get on with it. But more importantly of all, go on to the next phase. But the class of 2020 are ready for the next phase of their life. Okay. This is just unnecessarily dragged out, but we're all in the middle of a pandemic, so that's all we can do.
Mary Green, thank you very much, and good luck with your classes this morning and for the rest of the week.
Thank you very much, Damien. Good luck to all the class of 2020 out there and all the other students.
Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to be talking about spending habits. What are you spending a lot of your money on at the minute? 30% more are being spent on groceries starting in the last few weeks. Regarding the Greens haven't a clue about agriculture, says John in Tramore. They got their answer the last time out. Well, the Greens would dispute that. Why are the trees being cut down in the bird nesting season? Another texter, talk about the Greens. Everyone knows we must adjust our way of living. And another texter, keep the Greens out of government. Crackpots. They'll have us all going around on bikes. I like to go on a bike myself every now and then, so I don't know if you've any problem against bikes. Damien, the Waterford 24/7 is a bigger issue than the environment. With all due respect, Mark needs to focus on local issues. And Deirdre says, the Greens need to go into government. I will never vote for them again if they don't get in there and work with Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil for the good of the country. Time to grow up. Good morning, says Colette. Strange in my life, I never voted for Fine Gael, but if there was an election tomorrow, I'd give them my number one vote. I think in these hard times they're doing a great job. Another texter saying that it's time to get them out of government. Special thanks to Josephine Howley, an old friend who arrived to my house over the weekend with strawberries, raspberries, cakes and cream. Anne O'Shea has phoned in. I was so excited to see her. She'd been asking if I needed anything while doing great work. It was lovely to see and get such a treat. Some texts and comments about the leaving certs. I'll read those out in a few minutes. Over the weekend I went down to Dunmore and talked to some fishermen about how they're getting on in the COVID situation. As we know, sales have gone down dramatically because the restaurants aren't open. A lot of people are not doing it, but there are some people buying fish in shops, so some people are saying there's an increase. Spoke first to Vinnie Sinnott, who is from Kilmore.
It's the Mary Kate beam trawler. She's based in Union Hall there. She's a 30 metre beam trawler, and we're fishing Monk and Megs there at the moment and stuff like that. So
you're just back. How was it?
It's not too bad, only for the fuel is down a bit now. We'd be fairly stuck, you know. Per prices of fish it's not that great at the moment, like with the way things are. So only for the fuel now we'd be tied up, I'd say.
Diesel has come down quite considerably. Give us an example, like.
An example, sure. You're talking.
What is it down?
It's down a good bit. It's down to 20 something cent at the moment, like compared to 50-60 cents there before Christmas and all, you know. So.
And what are prices like for sales?
Sales is only really money for Monk and Megs at the moment. Prime fish now, there's not a whole lot for it. Supermarket fish is doing okay. The restaurants and all closed, you see, so you don't get much money for the likes of Black Soul, stuff like that. Like.
So, how are you managing?
We did okay there, yeah. We were only back, like I said. We've been off for a month before that. The owner kind of told us to come in. There's no point in being out at the moment, so things are only starting to get picked up again. So.
And is there much out there?
It's okay, yeah. It's okay for the time of the year. I can't say too much.
And tell us about...
we're not allowed to catch a whole lot either, so...
No, you're not. That's the other problem, you see.
Yeah.
And being tied up, it's not good for fishermen, for mental health as well. It's not good.
It's not, because you'd be so used to being out there as well, you know, being at home, twiddling your thumbs. You're doing nothing really, like... stressing out, wrecking your head when you're going out again and thinking about the boat, and
you can't go to the pub or nothing.
No, that's it, sure. That's it.
So listen, what's the plan for the next month now?
The next month, we're taking a week off now at the moment, so just you can't really fish all the time either, you know. The more fish has been landed, the less money you get for it too, so kind of take it day by day really at the moment.
I'll let you get back to it. Take it day by day. I was talking to Shane McIntyre. We'll have more interviews later in the week with different fishermen, and text from Ardmore. Some people don't pick up dog poo down in Ardmore. A text from a person, good morning. Just regarding the social distancing, when people stop to talk to each other, stay outside on a footpath. They stand opposite each other on either side of the path, keeping the 2 metre distance. So when somebody else comes along, I have to pass them through the middle of them. That's not being very considerate. Rant over, says this person, but can people try and sort out where they are going to stand talking? Lisa has phoned in to say I have a Leaving Cert student at home doing their work, hoping and praying that he will be able to go to college this year. Anyone who thinks it should be cancelled must be mad, obviously assuming it's safe for them to be sat. I really want to see it go ahead. My son wasn't the best for doing his work before this, so getting the teachers to give him grades won't work. He's really trying hard during all this with online classes and giving in and getting all the work done. Whereas another texter texted in to say, my son is really struggling now with no school, and he did great in his pre's. Now his future would be in trouble if it was cancelled, if he's under stress and his welfare. And this person wants it cancelled. So some differing views, some parents wanting it to go ahead and others wanting it cancelled. Let us know what you think. 083 333 975. Now, in a minute, I'm going to be talking to John Lowe about spending habits. Firstly, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are using COVID-19 as a smokescreen, says this texter. If it wasn't for restrictions, the streets would be awash with protests. It will go down as a stain on democracy. Greens should not be part of this slap in the face for the electorate. Can you please say a big thank you to Emer McGrath, Ballin Road, Dungarvan, who's making lovely homemade brown bread for all her neighbours from all the Kerwins. Well done, Emer. Any word on the confirmations? Are they still due to go ahead on the 31st of May, says this texter? We'll text the Bishop's office and see what the situation is. Good morning, Damien. Cycling your bike for pleasure is different than cycling to work in wind and rain. John Lowe, how are you getting on?
I'm good. Welcome and good morning from a sunny Dublin, Damien.
Thank you.
It's absolutely a fantastic day up here at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit cloudy down here and windy at the minute, but tropical in the southeast, as they say. You're author of The Money Doctor, as we know, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. People are spending 30% more on groceries since COVID-19. AIB have done a few surveys on this, and customers spending 20% more on the day of school closures were announced than they did on any day in the lead up to Christmas. What's your feeling about how it's changing people's habits, John?
Well, it certainly is changing people's habits. I mean, March was the biggest month in history for grocery shopping. Now most people, there's 10% of them go online to shop. I don't know whether you've tried getting yeast lately, Damien, but I'm one of the few people in the country who are not looking for it. But apparently they're out of it. I'm still waiting on thermometers from Amazon. But I mean, we're saving on things like tourism, sadly, between restaurants, concerts, pubs, visits, those kind of travel trips. I mean, even the pubs, for instance, in terms of weekly pay on drink, we're now spending €21 per week on drink at home, as opposed to €11 before COVID-19. Transport, we're saving the average cost of a family car is $10,690. That's now being saved because our cars are going nowhere like ourselves. Childcare, the net cost in Ireland, it represents about 28% of earnings compared to the EU average of 12%. That's all being saved as well because children are at home with their parents. The beauty products, that's a good one because apparently there's been a massive spike in lots of facial creams and all sorts of other kind of beauty products. I mean, the thing called in SuperValu is saying L'Oreal Magic Retouch is exactly what I need, Damien. But apparently due to the Zoom calls, people are now trying to make themselves look a bit more pretty and prettify themselves before they go on Zoom. And then you've got home entertainment, Netflix up 27%, PlayStation up 122%, the Xbox up 86%. So as far as cash is concerned, that's gone right down. ATMs, people don't bother. I mean, I can't remember the last time I even touched a note.
Yes.
And because I use my Google Pay on the phone. And so I don't need to even use my credit card or debit card.
Do you think, John, again, you're a very astute observer of people's spending habits as they play out over different decades. Do you think there will be a big return to spending, or will people be a little bit tentative about it?
Oh, they're definitely going to be tentative. I mean, because don't forget, Damien, there's going to be an awful lot of people who have no jobs to go back to. And they probably, you look at the tourism industry, the hotels, all that area, restaurants. I mean, the restaurant business is such a tight margin business. You've got maybe, say, a restaurant that has maybe 30 or 50 covers, 50 people who can come into the restaurant. And then when we go back, they're going to be probably told by the government, you can only have 25. It's not worth their while opening up. So money is going to be extremely tight. People are going to be very cautious, even going back to the pub. Social distancing in pubs is going to be kind of difficult, to say the least. So our lives have really changed forever in some respects, I think, and that we need now to look at other ways, first of all, of also making money, because that's going to be the key. Have we got money to spend?
And how the government is going to pay for all this, and whether they'll lumber some of that back on people is the other aspect of it. What do you think, John? Talk to me about your predictions for, we'd say, the next year.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the government putting it back on us. I think it'd be our great-grandchildren, Damien, who are actually going to be, kind of paying for it. Because you look at someone like Barack Obama, when he inherited his office, he inherited a national debt of $7.5 trillion. 8 years later, he trebled it to $20 trillion. And that wasn't his fault. The thing, as we are having right now, quantitative easing, just throwing money out there because we need it in our economy. We need to boost. We have to pay people at home who have been working on through no fault of their own, have been told to stop. So that has to stop at some stage in the future, and somebody then has to pay for it in the future. But it's like, put it on the long finger. And unfortunately, that is really what is going to happen. And, whether there'll be currency crisis ahead, whether there'll be, I've been saying for the last couple of years that eventually we're going to have a cashless society. We won't have any credit cards, debit cards, or cash. We'll just have either on the phone, like the Google Pay or Apple Pay, or you'll have it, a chip in the back of your neck or in your thumb, and you go into the supermarket, and they won't even ask you what you want. They know, because they know that your fridge is empty of certain things, and know your pantry is empty of certain things, so they'll have it all ready for you, and you won't even have to carry it home. The drone will do that. So it is a changing world.
Listen, John, you're very good. It is very much a changing world. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and take care.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Lowe there, The Money Doctor, and his book is out, and you can check out themoneydoctor.ie as well. Regarding the bishops and confirmation and communion, a statement. The Bishop of Waterford and Lismore says he cannot give definite dates on the First Holy Communions or confirmations when they'll take place. He says he knows people are disappointed that the two sacraments are postponed, but large gatherings aren't permitted due to COVID-19. In a statement, he says he wants to make it clear that First Holy Communion and confirmations will happen when it's safe to do so, and after consultation with parents, parishes and schools. Thank you, Liz, for that, and Julie for that information. A lovely postcard, one of the An Post postcards, sending love. Dear Damien, I really enjoy your show at night time from 10 to 12. Best of luck to you and yours. Stay safe. I think it's Noreen McGrath from Cappoquin. If it is Noreen, thank you so much for your lovely postcard. And a number of other postcards have come in. Want to give a special mention while we're down west to people in Lismore. John Pratt and others are doing a GoFundMe page for St Carthage's, Lismore and Dungarvan Community Hospital. It's a fundraising event in aid of PPE for the two hospitals. So you can find that on GoFundMe. Stay with us. We've a lot more coming up, including people's comments. If the Greens go into government with those two, they'll be wiped out like the Labour Party just a few years ago. But the Labour Party are still back. They're back now, they would say. What do you think? 083 333 975.